Hello and welcome back to Unit Tutorial for Science Year 1, Unit 1, Everyday Materials, and this is video part 2 of 2. My name is Megan Latchford and I'm a design leader at Art Curriculum Plus for Primary Science, Geography and History. This video will walk you through the following areas: how to adapt activities and lessons, and key moments within the unit to look out for. A great resource to use to adapt pupil activities in this unit is the online ebook workbook. I'm going to give you a demonstration of how to use the ebook to adapt activities. And here I'll be using a Year 3 Science workbook, but this video applies to all year groups and subjects. To access the ebook workbook for this unit, you'll need to log into Oxford OWL and select the year group and subject you want. In my case, Science Year 3, in your case, Science Year 1. The first resource on the list is the ebook. For this unit, you'll need Workbook 1A. This is an online exact copy of the pupil workbook. Use the arrows to scroll through the pages. You can find both autumn terms units in this workbook. Select the activity you want to adapt by using the snipping tool and highlighting that section. You may be familiar with the snipping tool, but it can be found by searching in the search bar or simultaneously pressing Windows, Shift and S. Drag your mouse to highlight the area you want to copy, and that section of your screen will be copied onto your clipboard. And now you can press Paste, and that section will be pasted onto the document you want. Sometimes you may find that Word works best, and sometimes perhaps Publisher. I like to use Word for the Draw tool if I want to highlight anything or write in handwriting, and Publisher is quite good for moving around text boxes and shapes. Now you can adapt the activity in any way you want. Here you can see I'm actually adding an extra label, but adapt the activity to the needs of your class. Then you can print this out and stick it on top of the activity in the pupil workbook. Every lesson starts the knowledge quiz except for lesson 1, and you can find the knowledge quiz booklet on Oxford OWL with this unit's resources. Knowledge quizzes can be implemented in a variety of ways which entirely depend on what works best for your class. They are an important step to check for understanding and address any misconceptions, so try not to miss them out. We have found from teacher feedback that most teachers teach these quizzes with pupils sat at desks, independently answering the questions. And this is great, this works for your pupils, and keep doing if so. But there are other options if you feel this isn't the best method for your class. You could read through the questions and options as a whole class, and go through each question and answer one by one, breaking it down to bite-sized chunks. In Key Stage 1, you may have been using carpet time, so you may wish to start the year of pupils answering the questions as a whole class by showing a number on their hands. For example, 1, 2, 3, and 4. If using this method to keep track of answers, you could keep a record of the general consensus the class has come to, or even make a note in the workbook you've kept aside as a teacher copy. You may wish to continue this throughout the year, or as the year progresses, you may wish to make these knowledge quizzes more independent. The aim of the knowledge quiz is to assess the new learning from the previous lesson, and you can adapt this to any method which best suits your class. This is the workbook activity for lesson 1. I'm going to run through some of the activities in the workbook from lesson 1 to 6. And I'm going to give suggestions on how you may adapt them, and these ideas can be transferred to any other activities in the workbook or slides. You don't have to use my examples or even adapt at all, but these are suggestions for ways in which you could. In this activity here, pupils need to add a picture of each material to the correct box. Pupils are given an additional resource with the images already on them that need to be cut and stuck in. To support pupils, you could partially complete the resource to give pupils more time on fewer picture cards. To stretch pupils, you could ask pupils to draw their own pictures rather than stick them in from the additional resource. In Lesson 2, pupils need to draw lines to match the objects of the materials they are made from. To support pupils, you could again partially complete the activity to give pupils more time on fewer matches. Or you could support them by giving them physical options that match the images to look at. To stretch pupils, you could challenge them by asking them to draw or list or discuss any more items they can think of that are made from more than one material. In Lesson 3, pupils need to circle the property keywords for each different type of material, then write the name beneath. To support pupils, at the start of the lesson, you could have an action for each keyword and each property. Then encourage pupils to use the actions to help them remember what each word describes. You could read through each word aloud with actions while pupils listen and circle, material by material. Or you could ask pupils to circle one property each material has rather than all of them. You could reduce the number of options people need to work through, like so. To stretch pupils, as a challenge, you could ask pupils to use the keywords to write a sentence describing the material. The adaptations that we've discussed for Lesson 3 could also be applied here in Lesson 4. In Lesson 5, pupils need to draw Ted with a new umbrella. They need to write the name of the material they would use for this umbrella and then draw the umbrella above him. You cut out labels of the different types of materials with images underneath for pupils to stick in rather than write, for example. And you could already have a template of umbrella stuck on Ted for pupils to colour in and design. For Lesson 6, you could choose labels for pupils and have them already added to the circles. You would already use these labels as a whole class example, as well as dull and shiny, which gives pupils extra support if undertaking independently. You could also stick an example for each hoop to support pupils further. Another example to support pupils could be selecting a small group, if possible, maybe with yourself or an additional adult if that works for your class, to work with physical hoops and items as the rest of the class writes in their workbooks. You could take a photo at the end to stick into books. Every lesson finishes with 2 exit questions that are done as a whole class and don't go into workbooks. Like with the knowledge quizzes, you could add numbers 1, 2, and 3 next to the answers for pupils to answer on their fingers. For every unit, there are elements that will need to be planned in advance by the class teacher. You'll need to plan an engaging hook, print off any additional resources per lesson, and don't forget to print off the knowledge quiz booklet, and gather resources for specific lessons, which may include investigations or items to model with. See the unit planning guidance for exact information. Hopefully, you now feel confident about accessing and teaching this unit. Any questions, please send to primarymastery@curriculumplus.org.uk, and we welcome all feedback to ensure that these resources are as supportive as possible for you and your pupils.